interesting conversation today. Today's conversation is going to be about reaping what you sow. How what you throw out will come back unto you. Yeah, it will. It really will. It matters in life what you do. It truly does. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward. Today is absolutely no different. I am just your neighborhood auntie coming forward, live and direct, to give you a word of encouragement, to remind you of some truths. Friend, if you get up and lay down long enough in this life, you will forget some things. And it will take many of us amongst us to remind us. Who better knows the struggle? Who? Than one amongst us. God has said and shown throughout the travels of all of these children just how God moves. We make it difficult. We get led in a way that we believe we got to have some extraordinary sauce to stand in the authority of which we were born. Every leader, every person that did monumental things in this book were just like you. They weren't born in any particular unique way. If anything, they had insurmountable circumstances that they were faced with. They had it harder than a lot of folk. Yet they found the courage and the wherewithal, and most importantly, friend, the love to keep them going, to make them feel like this is important, that I got to muster up enough of whatever I have within me to get through this, because this is important. Today, y'all, we're going to speak to, I'm going to really go in another direction to what I spoke to in the Bible study yesterday about the Temple of Jerusalem being destroyed and these children going into bondage. I don't want to really focus in on that. We all know what happened with that. We know that, these children have transgressed and God has allowed their enemies to overcome them. And now they are in bondage in Babylon. They're having to wear the mantle of the Babylonians. Yet what I want to focus in on is reaping what you sow. Yeah, that's the conversation today. Reaping what you sow. Before God would allow these children to go into captivity, God would come upon Jeremiah. And God would speak to Jeremiah. In the fourth book of Baruch, chapter 1, it reads, God coming to Jeremiah, and this is the conversation. Jeremiah, my chosen one, arise and depart from this city, you and Baruch, since I am going to destroy it because of the multitude of the sins of those who dwell in it. For your prayers are like a solid pillar in the midst, and like an impenetrable wall surrounding it. So God is speaking to Baruch, and he's speaking to Jeremiah, and he's telling Jeremiah, get up, leave this place, this town, this city, get up out of here, because I'm going to destroy this place. And I can't destroy it with you in it. Follow me here. God has come to Jeremiah and told him he's going to destroy it. And he can't destroy this holy city that David came to God and came with the idea of creating such a thing. Now God is going to destroy it. And he can't destroy it because Jeremiah is there. And most importantly, not just because Jeremiah is there. God says in the fourth book of Baruch, chapter 1, verse 2, for your prayers are like a solid pillar in the midst and like an impenetrable wall surrounding it. That's the only reason that God cannot destroy it, because of Jeremiah's powerful, righteous, consistent meditation. This is what a prayer is. A prayer is a meditation. It's an intentful, heartfelt meditation. And because Jeremiah's meditation was so powerful, it created a force field around the entire city. So powerful that God would need to remove Jeremiah from that region so that he could have his way with it. This is what I speak to about the regular people in the communities. Many of y'all's mothers, many of y'all grandmothers, grandfathers are powerful people in spirit, friend. They're so powerful that even though they have transitioned from this life, their prayers are still protecting you. Many of you are alive and moving around in this life just because of those people and their prayers that they prayed over you. That's how powerful prayer is. It's a force field. It is a covering that never leaves you, lest the person desires for it to leave you. We see this here in the first chapter of the 4th book of Baruch. But I don't want to just park there. I want you to pay attention to that. But I also want you to come on a journey with me with this. So God comes to Jeremiah and tells him he's going to destroy the place. He needs Jeremiah to get up and leave because Jeremiah's energy, the frequency that Jeremiah is sending out from himself, is so powerful that it covers the entire area. Did you hear me? His frequency, his meditation, his prayer is so powerful that it protects everybody around him. Everybody. Going back to what God said about these children when he made the covenant with Abraham, wherever these people go, when they are in alignment, they're blessed. Jeremiah is blessed because Jeremiah is standing in the complete alignment of which he was created and ordained to stand in. Thus, him being blessed blesses everybody in his environment. There are many people that you want to do business with, or that you look as entrepreneurs to do business with, because you're in the business of investing in other people to multiply your money. So you scouting talent. Yeah, you can scout a vessel that is corrupted and that will lead you nowhere but to loss. Or you can invest in vessels that are highly bankable. Just like Jeremiah. That just being in proximity to those people covers you in ways that you can't even imagine. It goes beyond money. Money is a result, absolutely, because everything is prosperous. You might look at those people and say, well, it doesn't look like their lives are prosperous. They're not living a prosperous life. They're not this and they're not that. Well, that's because more than likely they're dealing with things that might be trying to bind them up. Their attention may be focused on other things, stopping them from sowing in ways that they normally would sow. The enemy may come and snatch up all of their stuff that they're reaping in abundance, and looking to categorize those people and put them in a light to sell them to you as if they're not worthy, but they are, because the enemy is doing everything he can to focus on them. He's allowing his own life to suffer just so he can focus on these people. That's how obsessed he is with these people at times. Many of y'all know what I'm talking about. But let's not even park there. We're going to go back. Jeremiah is speaking to God, and God says, I'm going to destroy this place. I need you to get up out of here, because your meditation, your prayer is so powerful that with you here, I can't destroy it. I can't justify destruction of this place because of your mere presence. That's how powerful the frequency is that's emanating from you. There are many of us, we are at a precipice right now in our creation in the world where we are at the brink of severe transformation. This is where these people are as well. They're at the precipice of severe transformation, and nobody wants to accept it. Nobody, not even Jeremiah. The man that God comes and speaks to, Jeremiah doesn't want to see this change, but the change is inevitable because of what all these people did that led up to the change. They have justified such change. They did it. And now that the change is upon them like a thief in the night, they could never have expected it. They don't expect it, and they don't know that if it's real or if it's not. Like, is this really going to happen? This is monumental. Like, is this really going to happen? And if it does, to what degree will this happen? Will God just wipe the entire Israelite house out? Or will he have mercy on us and let us at least stand in some of the greatness that we have been standing in all along? Or will we would just be brought down to nothing? They don't know this, but they know that there is something at hand and that it has to do with change. I just spoke to the Bible study yesterday of how this same individual, Jeremiah, will partner with Baruch. And Jeremiah will be the conveyor of God's word to Baruch, and Baruch will write the word down on papyrus and go and show it to the nations. And the nations, the leaders of the nation of Israel, would receive this word from God. And instead of them repenting, throwing dust on their face, fasting, instead of them doing any of that, they burned it. They were looking to slow the swing of the pendulum. That's all they could do. Either they could allow it and fall at the feet of God and ask for mercy, or they could try to slow it. And instead of falling at the feet and asking for mercy of God, they burn it, causing further tribulation on themselves. They would be exempted from any type of mercy. These people that actually did that. All so that they could stay in these roles that they had sacrificed everything valuable for. That meant nothing. They were playing an imaginary game that didn't last, and it was fake. They're playing a fake game amongst one another that they created in their minds, and they've done all kind of things to stand in. But when reality sets in, they rather try to manipulate the reality of the reality. They try to manipulate the speed at which the reality manifests by burning the reality, as if they have the power to do that. This is how futile and how ignorant and how blinded they had become. They're in a desperate state. And because they could not humble themselves, they had based their entire existence on a lie. They had to stay in that lie. They had invested so much in the lie that they had lost themselves in the lie. Going back to the movie Inception, they had gotten so deep into the dream that they lost their little pendulum that navigated them out of the dream. They couldn't tell the dream from reality. Yet reality is reality. Life goes on regardless. You're just stuck in that lie. You're stuck in that dream. So Jeremiah would go and he would heed the word of God, and he would leave and he would go and get Baruch. He's saying, okay, Baruch, I got a word from God. Chapter 2. And Jeremiah ran and told these things to Baruch. And I'll skip further in verse 7. And Jeremiah said, God is delivering the city into the hands of the king of the Chaldeans to take the people captive into Babylon. And they all mourn and weep and lament and all that kind of stuff. And then verse 3. Up to verse 3 is this conversation. No action, just conversation. God comes to Jeremiah. I'm going to destroy this city. I need you to get up out of here because of the multitudes of the sins of those who dwell in it. And he says, for your prayers are like a solid pillar in its midst and like impenetrable wall surrounding it. He's saying, get up out of here, Jeremiah. I need you to leave. The only reason I'm telling you to leave is because your prayers are like a solid pillar in the midst of this city. You are a pillar in the midst of this city, a force field. Sending out vibrations. And like an impenetrable wall surrounding it. Your vibration that emanates from it within you, your prayer, your vibration surrounds the entire city like a force field. You're protecting these people spiritually without you even having to do anything. Just your presence protects them. Just your presence brings goodness. Those that come and align with you for whatever purpose are blessed. If they align with you and they wish to do you harm, they're cursed. Whatever they reap, they will sow as it has to do with you. You're like a mirror, reflecting without intentionally doing it. Just your presence. This is what God is saying. And Jeremiah, now he's gotten this word. He goes and he tells Baruch. And they're lamenting. And they're thinking like most people would, okay, to what degree is this thing going to happen? What exactly does this mean? To what degree? Chapter 3, verse 2. And behold, there came a sound of trumpets, and messengers emerged from heaven, holding torches in their hands, and they set them on the walls of the city. I'm here to tell you, this whole Baruch book, friend, they need to do a movie on this. God comes down, manifesting in the form of himself, and he sends angels, and they come down and they put torches on the walls of the city. And when Jeremiah and Baruch saw them, they wept, saying, now we know that the word is true. Reality. Reality. Immediate reality. So whatever stance you're in at the time that reality manifests, you're going to have to stay in that. There's no repenting. It's immediate. And Jeremiah speaks to the messenger and says, Jeremiah implored the messenger, saying, I implore you, do not destroy the city yet until I say something to the Lord. Jeremiah speaks to the messenger and says, please, I'm begging you, don't do anything yet until I speak to God. And the messenger goes to God and tells him what Jeremiah said. And God says, don't do anything. And you guys, let's halt until I speak to Jeremiah. Friend, we make this thing so complicated. We make it like God is so far away in speaking with us. This is Jeremiah, a man amongst men. A man amongst mortal men. The mortal men in his community did not respect him. Jeremiah was afraid of a lot of these people. A lot of these people thought they were better than Jeremiah. A lot of these people were more highly networked than Jeremiah. In the eyes of the people, Jeremiah was the least of these people. Yet God comes to Jeremiah and tells Jeremiah, it is through your prayers that this city is protected. I need you to get up out of here, because that's just how powerful your prayer is. And then when God comes and sends angels in physical manifestation with torches to light up the walls of the city, Jeremiah speaks to the angels and says, please don't do anything else until I speak to God. And the angels take Jeremiah's word and send it to God and says, Jeremiah wants to talk to you. And God says, verse 5, and the Lord spoke to the messenger saying, do not destroy the city until I speak to my chosen one, Jeremiah. Regular Jeremiah. The Jeremiah that was telling these people all along, y'all, we need to do something different here. The Jeremiah, all these people were looking to attack and harm, bullying them. That Jeremiah, the Jeremiah nobody paid attention to, the Jeremiah they all thought they were better than. I'm just telling you what's going on. And Jeremiah speaks to God and he asks God, what do I do with the holy vessels of the temple? I mean, what do we do? How are you going to do this? All these holy things in this place, the Chaldeans are going to love. They're going to want to come and get these things before they even come for us. They're going to want to come and get all of our power. Why? Because all of God's power was in the people and within the temple. They were sanctified items, highly, highly relevant in spirit. And for any nation of people to come and say, I took this from these people, would have made them great. It would have made them look great amongst mortal men. And Jeremiah is saying, what do we do about this? What do you want me to do about the vessels of the temple? And God gives him instruction as to what to do. And then after he tells him to do that with the vessels. Verse 12, and Jeremiah spoke saying, I implore you, Lord, show me what I should do for Abimelech, the Ethiopian, for he has done many kindness to your servant Jeremiah. For he pulled me out of the miry pit, and I do not wish that he should see the destruction and desolation of this city, but that you should be merciful to him, and that he should not be grieved. And the Lord said to Jeremiah, send him to the vineyard of Agrippa, and I will hide him in the shadow of the mountain until I cause the people to return to the city. That's the word right there. This Ethiopian Abimelech, I told you, they were treating Jeremiah bad. They did terrible things to Jeremiah. They caused many, many stresses on Jeremiah. They didn't see him worthy at all. He was annoying to these people. Yet he will still tell them. He would do his part to try and turn them. Because that's what he was being judged off of. You see, that was his duty. And for him to allow these people to stop him from doing his duty would have caused him to fall short of his mark. You see, this is how God does it. It's brilliant. So he comes before these people, constantly telling them things, knowing he's going to be threatened, knowing he's going to be attacked, knowing he's going to be disliked and mocked, knowing that they're going to look to hire people to try to harm him and his family. But he still comes forward because it's his calling. It's his job. And when it's all said and done, when the rubber meets the road, he will see that God actually is going to do this thing. The thing that he wished God would not do all along. The thing that he came forth and told these people, change is at hand, y'all. We need to change with this change. God is giving us an opportunity. He's giving us a way out to repent, to say, okay, look, all right, I see the writing on the wall. It's not the end of everything. It's just the end of this way of doing it. So let me conform to this new way, even though I don't know exactly what it is. Let me make myself ready and available to be useful in this new way. Instead of saying that, they tried to hold on to the lie that they had all built and that they sacrificed everything to partake of. And in doing so, the Jeremiahs of the world are aggravating them. They don't want to hear it. They don't believe because they're so stuck in what we saw in that movie Inception. Those levels of the dream, they had gotten so deep in the dream world that they believed that the dream was truthful. They wanted to stay asleep while Jeremiah is trying to wake them up. But Jeremiah would have an ally in an Egyptian, in an Ethiopian, Abimelech. He would come to Jeremiah's aid in trying times, out of love, out of brotherly love. Whether, I have been in situations where I wrote something about virginity on my social media page. I know people were looking at like, what's she talking about today? But we all have many virgin moments in our lives, men too. I can recall many levels of virginity that I lost. I remember losing the virginity of the way I view the world. I was no longer living in a fairy tale. I was no longer living my childhood fairy tale. I had been awoken and I had experienced things that would change the way I view myself and how I view the world. I remember the change. These moments of change are like unlocking new levels of yourself, and you mourn that old state. I remember mourning my childhood self. I remember where I was when I did it and saying, darn, I remember I used to be this way and now I'm this way. And I felt a mourn happen. Jeremiah and this Ethiopian would have a very trusting relationship. Even though this Ethiopian would not be of the Hebrew house. This is why Jeremiah brings him up. This Ethiopian is not a Hebrew. So he's not covered in this situation. But what I'm saying is Jeremiah brings it to God's attention. What do I do about Abimelech? My buddy, my homie, my friend, he's been down with me all through this. I can't forsake him. This is a pivotal moment Jeremiah has. Jeremiah, to even think of Abimelech, tells you the type of person Jeremiah is. There have been people that have been so helpful to me overcoming things. When I talked about the virginity, the times when I lost my virginity to my perspective of life, there were vessels that God would send me to help me regain and formulate a new perspective. I'll never forget those people. I'll never forget them. I'll never forget the people that came while I was in a pit with a shovel and a flashlight. I'll never forget those people that stayed with me while I dug myself out of them pits, even if they were at the top of the pit just talking to me. This is what we find here. I'll never forget, whether subliminally or directly, the words of encouragement that people have shown me. In a very dire time for me, friend. I'm here to tell you. And this is what we see with Baruch. With Jeremiah. Jeremiah does not bring Baruch into the scene, into the conversation, because Baruch is already covered. Baruch is of the house, and Baruch is standing in alignment with God. So Jeremiah knows that Baruch is covered. But Jeremiah worries about the one that is not of the house. How does he come into play? Because Jeremiah still wants this friendship with him. This is Jeremiah's friend. And God says, send him to Agrippa. Send him to the vineyard of Agrippa, and I will hide him in the shadow of the mountain until I cause the people to return to the city. God, like that, says it. I'm assuming. It doesn't say how long it took, but that's just God's response. And then the scripture goes to verse 21. And when morning came, Jeremiah sent Abimelech, saying, take a basket and go to the estate of Agrippa by the mountain road, and bring back some figs to give to the sick among the people. For the favor of the Lord is on you, and his glory is on your head. So he tells Abimelech, go get some figs so you can come back and feed this to the sick people. You're going to be fine. God, the favor of God is over you. Chapter 5. But Abimelech took the figs in the burning heat, and coming on a tree, he sat under its shade to rest a bit. And leaning his head on the basket of figs, he fell asleep and slept for 66 years. And he was not awakened from his slumber. And afterward, when he awoke from his sleep, he said, I slept sweetly for a little while, but my head is heavy because I do not get enough sleep. Then he uncovered the basket of figs and found them dripping milk. Abimelech wakes up and he says, that was some good sleep. He don't even know he's been asleep 66 years under a tree. And he opens the bag of figs, and he's saying, darn, these figs are surely ripe. Because that's what happens when figs get really ripe. They drip this milk. And he gets up. He fights it. He wants to go back to sleep. His flesh wants to go back to sleep. But his mind says, I'll keep reading. And he said, I would like to sleep a little longer because my head is heavy. But I'm afraid that I might fall asleep and be late in awakening, and my father Jeremiah would think badly of me. For if he were not in a hurry, he would not have sent me today at daybreak. Abimelech gets the word from Jeremiah. He immediately leaves. We all know what it's like in the heat of many of these eastern countries. It's hot. But he must go in a hurry because Jeremiah has given him a word to do so. So he sacrifices his own happiness. He does things to please his brethren, Jeremiah, who he calls his father, that cause him distress. Abimelech is being distressed, made uncomfortable to fulfill the requirement, that the petition of Jeremiah, to fulfill Jeremiah's request or to be of use to Jeremiah. Abimelech is being inconvenienced severely. And he's so inconvenienced that he has to stop by a tree. It's so hot out there that he needs to go and get rest under a tree. And while he's resting, he falls asleep for 66 years. Then he wakes up and he's like, dang, that was some good sleep. And his body wants to go back to sleep, but his mind is saying, I can't. I got to keep going because my father Jeremiah really must have needed me to do this, lest he wouldn't have told me to go during the heat of the day. He would have said, you can go at night like everybody else does. So let me get up and get my heels to clicking. And he goes back and he finds that he's been asleep for 66 years. 66 years. And in him finding that he's sick, sleep for 66 years, he comes into the knowing of what's going on, and word gets back to Jeremiah and Baruch that Abimelech is alive and that he has come back. And Jeremiah remembers what God said. And the Lord said to Jeremiah, send him to the vineyard of Agrippa, and I will hide him in the shadow of the mountain until I cause the people to return to the city. So Abimelech coming forward is fulfillment of what God promised Jeremiah. When Abimelech comes forward, he comes forward bearing many gifts. He's fulfilling the fact that God is going to allow these people to return to the city. They will be freed from this particular portion of captivity in Babylon. It's a sign of that captivity is fulfilled. And those figs that are in the bag that were preserved by God are now highly useful. The people would partake of these figs and they would be extended life, because God put a life extending frequency over Abimelech and all that surrounded him. Those figs had that frequency. So the people, when they would ingest the figs, it would heal them. It would extend their life. And this message today really is about reaping what you sow. Abimelech was good to Jeremiah at a time when Abimelech didn't have to. It wasn't Abimelech's fight. It was Jeremiah and the children's fight. Yet because out of love, out of brotherly love, out of friendship, out of righteousness, Abimelech played a powerful role. And because of that, there was loyalty created, goodness, so that when the time came and God would come upon Jeremiah because of all of Jeremiah's righteousness in this situation, God would honor Jeremiah's prayer and request. He would preserve Abimelech. He would bless him on a multitude of levels, allowing Abimelech to reap all that he sowed. Abimelech sowed goodness. It was probably nothing for him to help Jeremiah. It was the right thing to do. But because he did it, he reaped blessings that he could never get any other way. In a situation that he would never see such blessings coming from. It wasn't that Abimelech did this because he thought God would bless him the way he did. Abimelech did it because it was the right thing to do. All that came to Jeremiah and that was within his vicinity, in his environment, were blessed or they were cursed. And it was all dependent upon them. Had nothing to do with Jeremiah wishing it. Jeremiah just needed to be. All of his brethren that caused him problems, that he came in love to and preached truth to, because he had to. Jeremiah didn't, it never says that Jeremiah wanted to be this and wanted to be that. He was chosen. God says here, Jeremiah, my chosen one. He was chosen. And him honoring the fact that he was chosen, not wearing it. I'm chosen. Chosen. Let me give me a t-shirt. Chosen one. It was a heavy road. You see that when we look at the Bible study I did yesterday. He's fighting. He says it's like fire in my bones. This thing is like fire. I'm trapped. How How do you get rid of the fire in your bones? That's a sign that he is burning internally. On all sides, fear. Fear of God, fear of these people, fear of this, fear of that. Showing patience. When everybody is it's just constant. You don't know from what direction it's coming. And all of those that connived and conspired against Jeremiah, connived and conspired against themselves. In the end, that's what it would show. They would get what they wished for him. All of those that blessed Jeremiah were blessed. You will reap what you sow. There is no other way. There is none. And that's my word for y'all today. These are pivotal times. I'm just as intrigued as anybody else as to how God is moving, y'all. And I'm doing my best to come forth to give you guys useful words of encouragement and truths. Basic. It's real basic. God said, is there no God in Israel? I'm here to tell you that there is a God in Israel. And that God is right within you. You don't need to look no further than you. And that God loves you. And that you might just be lost in a dream, friend. You need to wake up. Like Abimelech. Abimelech woke up from his sweet dream. He said, darn, I sure do want to go back to sleep, but I got to get stuff done. Because I got people depending on me. Wake up. Snap out of it. Because you sleepwalking. You might be sleepwalking. And then those that are not, I encourage you to keep going. Keep going. No matter what level you're on, whether you just woke up yesterday or last night or this morning, friend, keep going. This is your life. This is you all the way. And it's a magnificent and a marvelous walk. But it's up to you to realize what it is. Search it. Stay close to it. And it will search you and stay close to you. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.